Hi everyone and welcome to a new video. As you may have seen from the title, in today's video we are creating a bot that will accept all my LinkedIn friend requests. I have too many. Only recently did my team tell me that LinkedIn is very important as a social media channel, and it's something I've ignored over the years. If you look at my profile, it's basically completely empty. I don't even have a photo there. I should probably change that, but I thought it's only fair if the people that have sort of tried to connect with me, if I connect with everyone. The only problem is that there are 6,000 requests, which are too many. And as a software developer, the only logical thing to do here is to write a bot that will accept all of these for me. So in this video, I will write that bot that I'm talking about, show you how it's working and show you all my requests. And for the next 1 week, if you connect with me, you should almost immediately get accepted because this bot will be running on an AWS instance. And more importantly, I'll be sharing how usually social media platforms like LinkedIn try to prevent things like these, how they prevent things like these, and why they don't want people to do this sort of scraping or this sort of hacks that are basically automated requests and not requests in which a person is actually clicking on the accept button, and how they prevent it, how a startup does not prevent it, and how I would basically solve a similar problem if I was doing the same thing for Facebook, Twitter, or a startup, and how I basically navigated through the LinkedIn API to do the same. With that, let's get right into the video. So firstly, let's go to my LinkedIn dashboard. There are a lot of requests coming in. I have around, as you can see, 6325 requests. The dumb way of me accepting these requests is clicking on accept button one by one. But as you can see, this is a very automatable step. So I basically in the morning wrote the code to create a bot. But I will now share my thoughts as to what are the problems that I ran into and how I initially approached this problem. So usually when you want to automate a task like this, usually when you're visiting a website, you're sending out requests to their backend server. So the easiest way to hack this sort of a solution is to look at what are the requests that are going out, more specifically the request that's going out when you're accepting a friend request or a connection request. So if I click on the connect button, there should probably be a request that goes out. Let's try that again. So I'm assuming this request, it has a question mark action equal to accept at the very end. So most probably this is what this is the request that goes out that actually accepts. And if I just copy this request and automate it, create some sort of a script that does it for all my invitation requests, I should be good. But there is a problem. The problem is social media platforms make it slightly harder for you to find the invitations or find things in bulk, things like who all are my followers or who all follow a certain page. A few reasons for this are that they have APIs which are paid, and then if you pay for that API based on a per request basis, you pay that company, and then they sort of don't rate limit those endpoints for you, and then you can hit them as often as you want. Accepting was easy, but the process of actually getting these 100 people on page 1 and then the next set of 100 people on page 2 and so on and so forth, when I went to the network inspector here, I saw they're slightly tricky. Whenever you go from one page to the next, there's a token that is passed. And if you look at the requests at the very top, most probably this invitations view question mark count equal to 10 is the request that goes out to give you all the data from the second page. But when I looked at what is returned, it was hard for me to find exactly what I was looking for. As you can see, I don't see any usernames here. I don't see any metadata associated with this person here, neither in this request. So I spent around half an hour trying to get the request that will return me these people 100 by 100, and then I could just send the accept request, but I couldn't, and then I just moved to a different approach, which now I will be explaining. Before I explain that though, generally a pagination sort of an API looks something like this. I just wanted to share that real quick. If you're creating a website which has something like this, a bunch of followers or a bunch of invitation requests or friend requests, usually you don't want to return all of them at the same time. So when the user asks you for a certain set of requests, they will usually ask you, the request sort of looks something like this. The request to the server question mark limit equal to the number of elements that you need, which for LinkedIn is 100 because you're seeing 100 people in a page, and a field that's usually called the offset, which represents from where do you want these 100 people. So if you're on page 1, you want 100 people from the 0th index, and then if you're on page 2, you need 100 people from after the first 100 people, and so on and so forth. So basically that's what the request looks like. And my initial assumption was I can just find this API endpoint, make a call to get 100 back, and then send an accept request for those 100, then make a request to get the next 100, so on and so forth. But that did not work. And so the next approach that I took was an approach that is slightly weird but works very well. The approach is we automate a Chrome instance that basically does this job of clicking on accept button one by one. Why this is good is because it's sort of spam evasive. The LinkedIn servers, if I keep sending them HTTP requests only to do a certain thing and don't send out the other requests that go out, maybe they find out that this is happening in an automated fashion and they don't like it, and they either rate limit me or just, I don't know, ban my LinkedIn profile. That is something I'm slightly worried about. That's something I'm worried about with the final approach that I took as well, but hopefully that does not happen. So I have written this in the past, so it wasn't too difficult for me to write. I've condensed this into 2 small files, which I have open sourced. Link is in the description. And now I will be sharing the code, and then I'll be showing you actually the process of running it and the Chrome instance that will come up, and click on accept requests one by one while I sleep or like in the background, so I don't have to do this. This is what the project looks like. There are 2 important files here, webpage.js and index.js. Let's start with index.js and then I'll take you to webpage.js. Index.js, consider this as the pseudocode of the project, pseudocode of what I've done. As you can see, there are a few functions defined. The sleep function, which basically is an abstraction around, it takes an input, which is the time in seconds that you want the thread to sleep for. Not exactly the thread to sleep for, like you want the process to not run for that specific function to not run for X seconds, then you call this function. The other function I've called is the start bot function. This is the important function. This is the function that does everything. So the first thing it does is it opens linkedin.com. The page.visit function, which I've written in the other file, basically does that. I'll show how that happens, what library I used, so on and so forth. But let's understand the pseudocode first. Then I sleep for 5 seconds just because like it'll be a while before the web page completely loads, and I want to do a bunch of things. I don't want a partially loaded page to run the script, else like it'll break somehow. Then I have also written another function called the sign in function, which basically does the same thing. Sorry, not does the same thing. I'm a little sleepy, my bad. It actually puts in my username, puts in my password, and clicks on the login button. So whenever you're opening a Chrome, it will be like a fresh instance of Chrome. So my LinkedIn won't be logged in there. So the sign in function will actually put in my username and password and then click on the sign in button. And finally, I sleep for 5 more seconds. I visit the invitations manager page. What page is this? It is basically this page. If you look at, if you go to your My Network section and click on See More and then click on All Your Requests, this page that gives you a paginated view of your requests is this invitation managers page, which I then open, and then I simply call press action accept button function, which will somehow look for this button and then click on it. Cool. So let's run the demo, and then I'll take you through each one of these functions and how they do what they're supposed to do. Important thing that happened here is I assumed, and in the morning the script was working very well, but then somehow my account got flagged, and now when I try to log in, it sends an OTP to my email, and I have to put that OTP in Chrome, and only then do I reach the next steps. So that is why everything else here is sleeping for 5 seconds, but at this step, I'm sleeping for 20 seconds because during these 20 seconds, I sort of have to do a manual thing of putting an OTP. Again, if I run this on this server, on a server where I have zero control, then this will be slightly harder. But this is a problem that just recently came. I'm hoping that it goes away in a day or two, and then it just runs on a server without any human interaction. Now, right now, I just have to do a small interaction, as you will see in like a minute. So let's run the script. Hands off. As you can see, a Chrome opened. And after 5 seconds, it will most probably put my email and password here and click on the sign in button. There you go. Hands off. I'm not doing anything. Oh, it did not ask for an OTP this time. Interesting. Cool. Or am I speaking too soon? Indeed, it did not. So completely hands off. I basically don't have to do anything. Now we'll wait for 20 seconds because I had the 20-second sleep there. And then we will move to the invitations page. Now my hands are still off, and the requests are getting accepted. How do I know this? If you scroll to the very bottom of the page, you will see one request gets accepted, a new one paginates to the page, and then the next one gets accepted. all happening automatically. I'm not doing anything, and this is so peaceful. Like, I know I have to do this. I have to accept these requests to be fair to everyone. And it's such a dumb thing for me to click this button again and again if I can automate this process. So let's see how long this runs. I think this can run forever. I don't think LinkedIn will block me. This is happening in a very humanly fashion, right? There is a browser that's opening and then a button is being clicked 1 second after 1 second after 1 second. So there's nothing suspicious happening here. So I don't think LinkedIn would block this. I spoke too soon though. Broke James. So what happened here is most probably when this new page came, it moved out of view, and hence like the Chrome driver wasn't able to click on it. I should add a few try catches, and I also should probably not click on the very last element, and if I do, I should probably scroll to the bottom after I click on it. So there are a few edge cases to fix. Please, this is open source. Feel free to contribute and make it work in the perfect fashion. Let's just try it one more time, and then I will show you the actual code, which is the most important part of the video. I'll show you how this thing actually works. What is the library that I used? So the library that I used is called Selenium. It basically, I think, was introduced in the world for like front-end testing, or like actually testing front-end, like the front-end code that you've written by actually opening a browser and then inspecting it. And then people use it for 100 different weird things. In video streaming, it's very common for you to record a video stream by turning on Chrome somewhere. So one use case is that's where I learned about this library. Now it's used for like 1,000 things like these, like automating bots, and you can do like a bunch of things with it. So that's the library we've used. You can basically open any sort of a browser. It doesn't have to be Chrome. It can be Firefox. It can be Safari. So it's like a very good front-end testing tool. Only people use it in weird ways like this. Cool, it happened again. So it definitely needs some cleanup, unfortunately, and I think the error is the same. The button is not clickable because it is out of use with that. Element click intercepted. Element this thing is not clickable at point this thing. Yeah, I've seen this before in the morning as well. So a few things I'll share here. The first button, so the way I'm identifying this button, let me first, I have to do a very important thing. I have hard-coded my password here. Let me stop screen share, remove my password, and then re-screen share so that I don't share my password with everyone. We will be back after a short commercial break. And we're back. Sorry for the interruption. Yeah, what I was about to share was in the morning when I was trying to basically write this code up, I realized the way I identify this accept button, if we now look at the code of the webpage.js class, let me just take you through it first. There's a base page function. The base page function is what we used in the other class or initialized in the other class. And what it does is it creates this new driver. And this driver it comes from the Selenium-WebDriver library, which I explained earlier. Lets you do front-end testing by actually opening up Chromes. I could actually be wrong on this, like don't quote me anywhere. Google first what this is used for. I think the original use case was testing websites on various browsers. Once you've created this, these are like very high level APIs for like visiting a page. So the this.driver.get function, if you pass in a URL, it will open that URL. So I just abstracted that out into a visit function to make it easier to read in the other file. The find by ID function basically gets an element by its ID. The find by class name function, if you look at it closely, it gets all the elements that have a certain class, and then I return the last element that has that class. The reason is in the morning when I sort of looked at how I can find this accept button, I realized that this accept button has a certain class associated with it, and that class is this class right here. But the problem was the search button at the very top also has the same class. So when I was trying to click on it, it was basically clicking on this search button again and again. So nothing was really working. And hence I just chose the last one. It felt like the easiest way to do this. Also, when I was initially writing this code, I thought I'd have to write the code in a way in which I have accept all the like 100 requests on page 1, move to page 2 by clicking on a button, and then accept another 100. But then LinkedIn luckily is smart. If you accept a request, it basically pushes a new request onto this page. And hence I didn't have to like write that logic. I only had to write the logic to accept requests, and then everything else it'll do on its own. The press accept button function basically finds the buttons by this class name, and if you look at this function that I've defined here, it finds all the elements and returns the last element. So basically it'll return the last accept button, and then the button.click function simulates the click. Simple, straightforward, butter. Very like two file code to implement a task like this. Now, what are future tasks? One, I need to figure out what's wrong here, and like how I can fix the whole bug of it not being able to click on a button. Most probably, I think if I add scrolling logic here, after you click on accept, scroll to the bottom, then click on accept, scroll to the bottom, after maybe 2 seconds, and then accept and then scroll to the bottom, I think it should work. I think the issue is that as more things roll in, the library that we're using isn't able to click on the elements that are not currently in view. That's my guess. And hence, as soon as the accept button moves out of view, it's not able to click on it. Should be easily fixable. I think that's it really. I will fix it, push it on to AWS, and accept all the requests hopefully by tonight. We're accepting them at a frequency of 1 message a second, so it should take around 2 hours for all my requests to get accepted, and I'll keep it running over there for the next 1 week. So for the next 1 week, you send me a request, it should most probably get accepted in like a minute or two automatically. Hey guys, so I was able to fix this by just scrolling to the bottom of the window. So every time I accept a request, I scroll to the bottom and then accept it, and now it's just working as expected. Just wanted to give out that quick update. Hopefully this video was helpful. Let me know. If it wasn't, let me know that as well. I can create another video on how to make money using coding. I know YouTube is binge-worthy content. I also come to YouTube to binge, so feel free to very openly let me know whether or not you like content like this. If you do, I will make more such quirky videos. If not, I will make videos on how to make money in tech. That's the one that usually does the best. With that, I will see you guys in the next one. Hopefully this was helpful. Yeah, peace. Something bad just happened. We were just looking for a button and pressing it, right? Unfortunately, this is also a button, and I've basically been messaging people randomly because it just kept on clicking on this button randomly. So forgive me if you see me in your DMs. It was just a random bot gone bad. So sorry about that. And now I'm going to leave this as an exercise. So the code is open source. It works as it does right now, where it most of the times works. But if someone messaged you upfront, it sort of starts messaging them randomly and pressing the wrong buttons. So you have to fix that, figure it out, and create a pull request. I'll be more than happy to merge it. The first person to do it will get something in their crypto wallet address. Cool. Bye.